You can take two business owners with the exact same amount of skill, and they will run the same business with the same strategy and the same work ethic, and one of them will continually scale the revenue and the other one will hit a ceiling and after some time burn out. There's a big reason for that. That's not skill or strategy, but all about what is happening inside your mind. And I found this after working with over 100 traders and business owners and helping them break through their money ceilings, whether that was getting to 5K consistently a month from trading or to land multi-million-dollar partnerships as a business owner. The real key here is that it works exactly the same way at every income level. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 internal money blocks that stops people from going to the next level of their income. I'm going to show you what is causing it and how you can just use this video to remove those blocks for yourself. But before we start, we just need to understand a little bit about how the mind operates. So we have 2 different parts that we're going to look at. And number 1 is the conscious part. That is the guy who's driving the boat. And that's you with the strategy, with the planning, with the intentions that you have. But then there's also a captain of the boat. And that is what is called your subconscious. And that is the captain who can at any time say, stop the boat. And the guys driving the boat can try to steer it, but the captain will tell him to stop the boat. And this is exactly where your patterns live. This is where your negative habits live. But really, essentially, it's about, this is where what you do that you don't want to be doing is created from. And this is also where all self-sabotage, all the imposter feelings all come from. So most people spend their years trying to become a better driver, have better strategies, better ideas, better thoughts, better work ethic, discipline, but that the ceiling that you're experiencing is not a driver problem, it's a captain's problem. And when both of these are moving together, when the driver is driving in the right way and the captain says, yes, we're going that way, that is when there's no self-sabotage, there's no ceilings, there is just this form of ease and effortlessness in the way you're scaling. That doesn't mean that it's easy, it just means that it's more simple because you don't have one foot on the pedal and one foot on the brake at the same time. So let's go through the 3 blocks, and the first one is consistency. And it looks like this. You have a great week, maybe even a great month, clients are coming in, deals are coming in, things are going well. If you're a trader, it means you're having a good week, a good month, and you're executing exactly the way you should be on your profitable strategy. But then all of a sudden something bad just happens. Maybe you get sick, maybe some bad deals go through, maybe you start sabotaging yourself, something just happened and it feels like the momentum just starts to die out. And this is the boom and bust cycle. And this is not because you're lazy, because you've gotten yourself up to here, you've gotten yourself to the good month, right? But then it's like you can't keep yourself there. It's always a boom and bust cycle that's going on for you. And you know that if you would just continue being consistent with what you were doing, everything would be great. And one of the blocks underneath this, one of the inner thoughts, the subconscious thoughts could be that if this actually works, my whole life is going to change. And I don't even know what that means. So the internal system, the captain, knows that the driver is going into a new ocean, and that means danger. We don't know what kind of dangers is there. We don't know the kind of threats. So it pulls the brake. The brake is on and you're not going anywhere. So your system, your captain, feels safe operating at the level that you're at right now. And one of the big things here is that usually the next big step for you feels very meaningful. So the boom and bust cycle is usually a pressure problem. The closer that you get to your goal, the more real it feels, the more meaning there is, the more you can see that goal that you put on the pedestal and you can see it right there, and it's becoming more and more real. So the emotions in your body just continuously builds up. And the only thing that your system is trying to do is to release that pressure. And the easiest way is to either, number 1, reach the goal, or number 2, which is much easier, which is to blow everything up. I had a great client and his name is Rilu, and he spent over $30,000 on mentorships. He couldn't apply that knowledge and he would always go through these boom and bust cycles. So every time he got close, the emotions would come up and then he would somehow find a way to blow it up. And that's very easy when you're a trader, and also when you're a business owner. That is just simply slowing down, not returning the calls, not calling up the leads, or just not taking care of your business. But what we did was basically two things. And number one was to take his goal down from the pedestal, make it more normal, normalize it, emotionally let it go so it became more normal. And then number two, to make that next goal, that next ocean that we were trying to sail into, super clear. And after this, he managed to be consistent 8 months in a row. He was able to execute consistently 8 months in a row. So what you can do to prevent this thing from happening yourself is to start sitting with your emotions, breathing in deeply and welcoming the feelings, welcoming the excitement, welcoming the pressure, welcoming the anxiety of actually reaching this goal and how big it feels to you. The only reason why you're feeling this emotional pressure and the resistance inside is because you're resisting the feeling itself. And once you welcome it in, you can start to process it and you can start to normalize it. And then after some time, that goal won't feel as big anymore, and the steps to take towards that goal won't be filled with pressure. And that means it's going to be easier to walk towards it. And every time you get close, you're not going to, fall off. And here's also a perfect place to use visualization to make that next revenue ceiling feeling familiar, so that you've already experienced it internally before you experience it externally. So once you've figured out the consistency part, there's an immediate new ceiling that appears directly, because now the next goal is scaling that consistency. You have a profitable strategy or process, you have the ability to execute it day in and day out, and now it's time to scale it. So before we go into level number 2, there's a training in the description for you if you want to find your own internal blocks and remove them so that you can get to the next level with much more ease and much less internal resistance. And that is in the description. And now let's just go to level number 2. Second ceiling is scaling. And this applies to both business owners and traders. So the next logical step is to scale and to take on more. But here's the important thing. We talked about the captain, who is the subconscious mind. For the subconscious mind, for the captain, scaling does not just equal more money. For the captain, this also means more responsibility, less freedom, more visibility, more risk that people are going to be upset about you. And your internal system reads all of this as one single thing, and that is not safe, danger. So this is all like walking into a new savanna. There are new threats everywhere. You have no idea what's in the water. You don't know where the tigers or lions or other animals are hiding. So it feels much more safe to stay at the old place. And you also know that subconsciously, the captain knows that we can always go back to the old place where we know where the dangers are, because at least we're going to be safe there. And safe is the key word here. And a deeper fear underneath all of this is very simple. It's that the more I have, the more I now have to lose. And this shows up very differently for each and every person, but it usually comes down to 3 different things. And a good example of this is my friend who owns a clothing company. She had a profitable strategy, she knew how to execute it, and she was doing really well with her launches. And I was asking her, I was like, why are you not doing the scaling? And she said, well, I know what to do, but I just can't seem to do it. So I asked her and I dug a little bit deeper into it, and we understood that if she had another successful launch that would be more successful, that would mean that her systems would break. So she already had an internal fear that she wasn't even aware of, that if I have a successful launch, my whole business is gonna break. For some people, it's a need for validation. Scaling might mean more visibility, more exposure, more potential clients that are not happy with you. And if deep down the captain is afraid of being judged or being seen, your internal system will find a way to put that brake on. For other people, it's a need for security. Right now, everything is going okay, everything is going well, you feel safe, you have an income, you're comfortable where you are, and scaling might mean that you might lose it all. So being where you are means that you're actually feeling secure. So that might also keep some people where they are right now. And for others, it's simply just a need for control. And this is the entrepreneur who's micromanaging, controlling people, or trying to, rewrite everything that all of the employees are doing, because it's the only way that they can feel safe. And scaling would mean the loss of control. It would mean that if I can't have an eye on everything, the whole business might break, the whole business might fail. And if I fail, what does that mean about me? So control, or playing small, or the visibility part is never a root cause. These are just coping mechanisms. They show up to protect you from something. And that something is always an emotional need, even if you're not an emotional person. So what you can do now is to think about that next level and see what part of control, validation, or security that you might lose if you take the step to scaling. Is it that you want to feel more secure financially? Is it the fear of being more visible? Is it the fear that you can't take care of all of the clients that you might have? So just name it and sit with it and feel the feeling and breathe into this feeling. As much as you can, welcome it in as much as you can. And of course, please take 5-10 minutes to do this. That's what you owe yourself. So sit with that, breathing in, welcome it in. Imagine that this emotion is just growing and growing and growing. And then just simply ask yourself can I allow to just feel this feeling without trying to push it away? And once you've accepted that, you ask yourself, can I let this feeling go? And if you can't let this feeling go, you continue and ask yourself, would I let this feeling go? And once you've answered that, you ask yourself, when would I let this feeling go? And what you will realize here is that your body will automatically process this emotion. And sometimes you might have to do it a few times, but this is a way that you can consciously process these emotions within yourself. And obviously it's of course easier to be guided by someone who knows these kind of things, but this is something you can actually do right now. And then after that, once you removed and let go of that emotion, then visualization is the next part. What does it actually feel to trust this process? What would it look like if I trusted myself that our clients are going to be great? So we just want your body to feel the so-called new savanna, the new ocean, as home. If you now solve the consistency problem, you solve the scaling problem, there's a new problem showing up. And this is the identity part. So this is one that a lot of people don't expect, because now by every external measure you are so-called successful. You've managed the consistency, you managed the scaling, and you're also in the right kind of rooms. You are what people would say a successful person. In the book Psycho-Cybernetics, is a very interesting book on how people would fix their nose that they've been extremely insecure about for their entire life. And then they would come back after a few months and they would still be insecure about their nose. So even if the physical reality shifted, like the actual way they looked, they still felt the lack of confidence inside. So just because the external changes, just because the money is in your bank account, doesn't automatically change the way you see yourself. And this is the identity part that is so important to work on. Could be that you know that you have valuable things to say, but you don't speak up, or it could just simply be that you're inside a room, but you don't feel like you belong there, even if you logically belong there. It's the imposter syndrome. It's the feeling of not being good enough. The thoughts that come up can feel like this is not gonna last. It's like, it feels like you're almost on a lucky run. Like this could crumble at any point in time. And the only thing that you're trying to do every single day is to measure up the image that you have on yourself so that you are good enough for the money that you are now earning. It's always a race against your own discipline, against your own consistency, because you're trying to hold up an image so that you can actually feel that you're worthy of what you're experiencing. So this is where the breaks often really, really break you down and probably might even keep you completely stuck. And it's not because you can't handle the next level. It's just because your identity hasn't caught up with your reality. Your results have basically outpaced your identity. This place, what I would suggest would be obviously working with a hypnotist, but the other part that you can do yourself is the actual bodily somatic work. It's about getting into your body. It's about letting that new identity feel much more like home, even if you don't feel like you are there. It's about experiencing that as it was real. It's about imagining it like in a fake way, because you don't feel like it, obviously. You have to imagine it like as you were there. And just sitting in those emotions and making those emotions feel much more normal and real. So it's basically you practicing feeling these feelings. And once you've done those, once you've created those neural connections, it's going to be much more easier to take a step in. But sometimes there might be fears involved with that, and the easiest thing that you can do is hire someone and help them remove those fears, those emotional attachments that you've had, so that it can feel much more easeful and normal to be where you are. Not like you're on a mountaintop and you might fall down, but that this is your new ground. This is where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to exist. So just imagine you just being completely perfect at the right place, and then when the counter intentions come up, when the thoughts comes up, you just hear them and you say, yes, I hear you. I allow you to be here. I allow the feeling of imposter to come in. I welcome it. I feel it. I process it. I had a client on the flip side of this who had a bunch of knowledge, 8 years of knowledge. She's been working as a coach for many years, and she spent like 25,000 on the actual knowledge, on courses, but she couldn't apply the stuff because she didn't feel like she was worthy of even applying this, right? She had so much knowledge that she could feed a whole country with it, but she couldn't use it. And what we did in one session was removing that fear, that feeling of being an imposter, and then just a few days later, she got $1 million partner or multi-million-dollar partnership with a really big company in that exact industry. And that's because she now stepped into that new identity. She felt like she belonged there, and now she also felt like she belonged with the opportunities. And she was then much more easy with speaking up. And that's the kind of magic that you can do once you shift your internal identity. And you can do that even without the external results. So that's the spiritual way of doing it. But also it's the same thing if you already have the physical results and now you just want to shift your identity to match that. So here's just the pattern one last time. Unfamiliar, new means unsafe. Unsafe means let's not go there. Let's just stay here where we feel comfortable. Okay? And that's not you who does that. That is the captain of the ship, the subconscious, the 99% of who you are, the automatic patterns, habits, and vices. And there's no amount of strategy or information or willpower that's going to change that. So the question you can sit with yourself now is asking, is it the consistency problem? Is it the scaling problem? Or is it an identity problem that you are experiencing right now? And again, if you want to work with me one-on-one and fix and remove those mental blocks so you can scale to the next level with much more ease, there's a link in the description, and there's also a free training, a 1-hour training that you can do to remove these mental blocks for yourself in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.